Hey everyone, I'm Gary the Elysiums, and I'm back with part 39 of my new CD purchase series. For those of you who haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, like, support my channel, comment. I really appreciate it. Those of you that are also interested, I do have a new Instagram page called Gary's Music Files, at Gary's Music Files on Instagram, where I post exclusively my CD, music collection, all that. More posts to come, it's brand new, so if you're interested, hit that up. So today we have a combination of a CD store purchases of new stuff, used stuff, and a couple thrift store finds. Uh, it looks like around 20, 25 CDs. I didn't count them, but just by looking at it. So we're going to get right into it. First up, we got Morchiba, the Big Calm. Morchiba, kind of a 90s, can't think of the name of the genre. You know, in the kind of a trip hop, maybe? We'll go with a little trip hop. This is from 1998, I want to say. Yep, 1998. Little trip hop sound. I've actually been getting into that. Well, not getting into it, but listening to more of it lately, like Portishead and Prodigy, even though it's a little different. Tricky. Even a little bit of Primal Scream in there is an influence on these guys. Next, we have Steve Vai's, his Ultrazone. Steve Vai does sing a few songs on here. Don't like Steve Vai's voice. I wish he didn't. 1999 release. Yeah, artwork's pretty cool. Kind of reminds you of Roger Dean. I used to do the Yes covers. I don't believe it is a Roger Dean, but looks like it's influenced by Roger Dean's artwork. Next, we have a compilation, I found at thrift store. This is Corey Hart, Sunglasses at Night, of course, his huge song. We all know that song. This is a compilation, kind of a greatest hits of his. I've never seen this before, so I picked that up. Next, no, I bought this. It was 99 cents at Goodwill. And it turns out I already have it. I didn't realize I had it already. I usually, I do catalog everything in Discogs. I don't sell on Discogs or trade or anything. I just keep what I own on there. I catalog everything, so when I'm out of the store, if I forget if I actually have it or not, I have close to 9,000 CDs. That's why. I usually look at it. But this, I was like, I don't have it. I have it. Miles Davis in person, Friday Night at the Black Hawk, San Francisco. This features, let me get the artists on there for you. There they are. Of course, Miles, Hank Mobley, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, and Jimmy Cobb. Such cool artwork. Those old neon signs. Wish I was around to see some of that old classic jazz back then live. Next up, this is kind of a official bootleg from Soundgarden. It's called Beyond This Mortal Coil. If you look at the top there, if you read it, it says a live tribute to Chris Cornell. So on first glance, I thought it was other artists singing his songs, and I kind of passed it up. And then when I saw it again, I looked at it, and I realized that it's all Soundgarden with Chris Cornell, all live tracks. So we have stuff from Saturday Night Live in 1995. We have MTV 20th anniversary. I think it means, it says MTV 20th anniversary, but 1996, which doesn't make sense, because that would mean MTV started in 1980, so that doesn't make sense. Self-Pollution Radio from 95, some stuff from Lollapalooza in 92. And what was cool here is there's a live version of Outshined featuring Eddie Vedder on the background vocals, towards the end on the chorus. It was really cool to hear that. Unfortunately, Hunger Strike is not on there. It's almost impossible to find a live copy or a live video of Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell doing Hunger Strike together. There is a bootleg video that I've seen on YouTube that someone, I don't want to say bootleg, it's someone filmed it from the crowd, but it's not good quality. And apparently they did perform it a few times during Lollapalooza in 92, which was, huge, with Soundgarden do Bad Motorfinger when that album blew up. Temple of the Dog, their album blew up. More of them to come. And obviously Pearl Jam blew up, the whole grunge thing. Next, I got the remastered version of the Meat Puppets. This album is called too. This one is most famous because it features the 3 songs that Nirvana covered, along with Kirk and Chris from the Meat Puppets on their MTV Unplugged in New York, which is Oh Me, Plateau, and Lake of Fire. Very heavy stuff. If those of you are wondering, The vocal performance is nothing like Kurt's. It doesn't even hold a candle to Kurt's performance. I prefer the Nirvana covers over the originals, but very classic, iconic album here. Very influential. Meat Puppets. I have it, but that's remastered, and I just needed it remastered. I just thought it sounded so much better. There's a nice booklet in there with some liner notes, some lyrics, and stuff like that. Next, I finally got the only Social Distortion album I don't have, Prison Bound. This is their sophomore album. Sorry about the glare. Got the light on, but I need it. Otherwise, it'd be pitch black. Social Distortion, such a great punk band, but in my opinion, they're not full punk. Like, they have a hard rock, grungy sound to them, especially throughout the '90s. One of the greatest punk bands, in my opinion. But when I think punk, in my opinion, is like Sex Pistols, even the Damned, Dead Boys. You know, obviously Ramones are like the king of punk, the Clash even. But I don't know. I mean, the Ramones are punk, but they're not. I feel like it's not as grimy. They weren't. It's hard to explain. I feel like you can get it. Ramones are more poppy, in my opinion. They're more listenable than to the average listener than Sex Pistols were, or the Dead Boys were. You know, young, loud, and snotty is what they said. Anyway, let's get back into this. Sonic Youth, Evol. I believe this is their sophomore album, released in 1985. I want to say 86. So weird. If you could see, if you know the guys from Sonic Youth and Girl, look how young they look there. They're like little kids. This is a really cool album. Oh, that's an even better picture of them. Crazy. Really good album. Very influential to the whole 90s alternative scene. One of the first, along with REM, one of the most influential bands of the 80s, that indie scene, that alternative scene that, blossomed in the 90s. Next, we have the Smiths. This is Hateful of Hollow. This is the remastered 2011 edition. You can see the cover looks a little better. This is their first compilation. Does feature the hit song How Soon Is Now, which is, obviously their most popular song. This Charming Man is on here, Hand in Glove. Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want, which is another great track. The reason for this is, in America, on Meat is Murder, How Soon Is Now was released on the album CD. In England, it was not. So this was put out, Hateful of Hollow, which is a compilation which features it on there. Next we have Pal from Toad the Wet Sprocket, This was the precursor to Fear, which was their big album, released in 91, which featured, All I Want and Walk on the Ocean, which was a huge, huge album for Toad the Wet Sprocket. Made them big stars in the 90s. Great hits they had throughout the 90s. Pal's a 1990 release. A little more mellow. Great vocals. I always thought this was a really good band. The name, not the best name. Band is really great. Next, this is cool. I never saw this before. It's called 19 Years. Collection of Alex Chilton. So this is all his solo stuff. This is a Rhino Records release. Nothing from the box tops, nothing from Big Star, just him solo. As you can, let me show you this, because this picture is horrible. Like, he's doing a little 50s rockabilly, almost duck walk there with the guitar. They could have picked a better picture, but this is really good. Altogether, 19 tracks. Some say never before released, CD bonus tracks. So I'm guessing this was probably released on cassette without the bonus track, because this is a 1991 compilation. There could have been vinyl out, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. Next, we have Sugar. File under Easy Listening. I haven't listened to this yet. I was actually curious about this. I did read I believe it was New Musical Express put out the 500 greatest albums in the 90s, and this was in there. I know I've seen it in passing in stores. I usually see the Spine File under Easy Listening, which kind of is confusing, because you're like, what's going on right now? That's the name of the album. It's not telling you to file it under the Easy Listening section. So I got to get into this. It's got that green, I think it's, Ryko disc. It is Ryko disc. The green Ryko disc tint case that all the Frank Zappa stuff used to have. Next, this song was special for me because this reminded me of my grandfather, who I lost a year ago today. Because this reminded me of when I would just, in those nice summer nights, he had a 1956 Ford pickup, and we would just drive around. He'd have the radio on as a kid, and as a kid, the oldies station, they played stuff in the 50s, which was the oldies back then. Now I'm hearing like Foo Fighters Learn to Fly on the oldies station, which makes me feel like a grandpa. Anyway, this is the Best of the Crests featuring Johnny Maestro. Of course, their big hit 16 Candles. But as I listened to it, I didn't realize how many songs I knew. Probably from my grandfather, just from him listening to it. But it was just, I just put this on and it just took me back. A really cool thing to reminisce about. So I'm glad I grabbed that. All right. So Temple of the Dog, I obviously have the one and only album by them, the debut album. This is the deluxe edition featuring a second disc of demos and outtakes, all previously unreleased. And then the disc one also has alternative mixes of Say Hello to Heaven, Wood and Jesus, and All Night Long. See, we got the trifold. There's the picture. It's the Seattle Lighthouse that was featured in the Hunger Strike video. As you can see the pictures here, they were all, all pictures taken from the Hunger Strike video. For those of you who are unaware, Temple of the Dog is a band that was formed as a tribute to Andrew Wood. Andrew Wood was the late singer of a band called Mother Love Bone. So what happened was there was a Seattle band called Green River, which featured Jeff Ament, Stone Gossard, along with Mark Arm, that would go on to form Mudhoney. Green River broke up. They formed Mother Love Bone with Andrew Wood. Andrew Wood was roommates with Chris Cornell. We all know Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, Audioslave. Anyway, Andrew Wood died of a heroin overdose. So Mother Love Bone was starting to rock it up, like, hey, this band has a future. He unexpectedly dies. As a tribute, this actually came out before Bad Motor Finger did, which would make Soundgarden a household name. So as a tribute, the guys from Green River, Jeff Ament, Stone Gossard, got together with another lead guitarist by the name of Mike McCready, and obviously Chris Cornell singing, and then they had this other guy come in and sing backgrounds, do a little duet called a little song called Hunger Strike. That guy's name was Eddie Vedder. Of course, Matt Cameron was the drummer on this also. Matt Cameron from Soundgarden, now in Pearl Jam, back to Soundgarden. Anyway, so Matt Cameron and Chris Cornell obviously went back to Soundgarden, who were blowing up with Bad Motor Finger. The other guys decided to stick with Eddie Vedder and form Pearl Jam. So, cool little story out there if no one knew, but I'm sure it's one a lot of people heard. Getting back to that kind of 50s vibes, I say, with the Johnny Maestro. We got the Best of Bobby Vinton. Roses Are Red, My Love. Great song. It always reminds me of that scene from Goodfellas. Great 50s, music. This guy was a teenage heartthrob back then. Next we have Babes in Toyland with Fontanelle. So funny thing about this album is this band actually had a little beef with Courtney Love and Hole. So the first song on here, Bruised Violet, is in a direct, kind of a diss on Courtney Love, Bruised Violet, as in the song Violet. But this came out in 92. So Violet, this song, was actually a comeback to this because, the girls had a little, Kat Bjorlin and from Babes in Toyland, and Courtney Love had a little falling out and fighting all that. Anyway, another one by Sonic Youth. This is the debut EP, which was self-titled. However, this is the remastered version, which features a bunch of bonus tracks on here. So the original recordings from 82, and then there's a bunch of bonus, basically a whole live set from September of 1981. So those of you that really want to get into Sonic Youth and you're familiar with stuff like Goo and Daydream Nation, stuff like that, definitely go back and check this out too, so you can hear the beginning. A really cool debut EP from the band. Another one from Meat Puppets. This is Up on the Sun. I believe this was a 1985 release. Again, very influential in that, indie punk alternative scene. I always like that artwork there. It's very simple, but very cool. I remember first seeing this in Spin magazine back in 2005. They did a like 100 greatest albums of when Spin existed. So to that year, it was 20th anniversary for Spin magazine, who's actually back out again. And Lainey Wilson is the cover star of their newest magazine that they're back to print. And I love Lainey Wilson. I think she's a great artist, one of my favorite modern day artists. She's a country artist. Anyway, so Spin magazine, I remember buying on the boardwalk in Wildwood. There used to be a bookstore on there, magazines and stuff, not there anymore. Anyway, I remember buying it there, and it was basically the 100 greatest albums that came out in the duration that 20 years Spin has been in print, and this was in there, so that was the first time I remember seeing that, and I was like, I gotta check that out. I finally own it. Almost, 19 years later. Okay, next up, Radiohead, My Iron Lung. My Iron Lung was a EP released in between Pablo Honey and the Bends. Obviously, My Iron Lung is on the Bends. Also features an acoustic version of Creep and a bunch of like B-sides. Some of them went on to become, pretty famous to the, big Radiohead fans, like Punch Drunk, Love Sick, Sing Along, sorry. But yeah, 8 tracks on here. Cool stuff. Like I said, it's that stopgap where you can really hear the obviously the Bends and Pablo Honey are way different to me. The Bends showed you where the band was going to go, especially with Street Spirit ending the album. And Pablo Honey was more of a alternative grunge sound to it. So this is like that. This kind of bridges the gap of like half and half into the Bends, and then obviously they would go on to OK Computer after that. This one was cool. I'm glad to follow you on this. I remember this came out. I actually never bought it though. It's Jeff Buckley, You and I. Basically just him and a guitar. A lot of acoustic, but he does that. He plays that telly. So nice. So nice. He's got this. Almost sounds acoustic to him. A lot of covers on here. Just Like a Woman, obviously the Bob Dylan cover. Sly and Family Stones, Everyday People. Don't Let the Sun Catch You Crying. I want to say Jerry and the Pacemakers, but I feel like I could be wrong. I'm just going off the top of my head. I feel like someone correct me in the comments, please, if I'm wrong. Obviously, Grace was a his debut album, the debut song from that. Boy with a Thorn in His Side, and I Know It's Over, both Smith's covers. Night Flight from Led Zeppelin. Cool stuff by Jeff Buckley. Going way too soon. I mean, guy released one studio album, and then we have these compilations. Sketches for My Sweetheart, The Drunk, which is a double album. Lost them way too soon, excuse me. Another one, The Smiths, The World Won't Listen. This is another 2011 remaster. Basically, it's another compilation along with Hateful of Hollow and Out of the Bombs. This one features later stuff like Big Mouth Strikes Again from The Queen is Dead, Panic, Shoplifters of the World Unite, again from Queen is Dead, There's a Light That Never Goes Out, The Boy with the Thorn in His Side, That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, all that. Actually, Shoplifters of the World Unite, was that on Queen is Dead? Or is that just from, I believe so, could be wrong. Too much music knowledge sometimes in my head, and I get way too many genres and stuff, I get distracted. Anyway, this one I found at Goodwill. This is Cat Stevens. His last album of the 70s, 1978, Back to Earth. Cool cover there. Not his best work, but more of a rare album. You don't really see this, especially on CD, anywhere. So I was glad to find that, pick that up. Next one we have Better Than Ezra. This is Closer, 2001 release. Of course, Better Than Ezra was another big band in the 90s with Desperately Wanting and Good. They're 2 big hit songs. Good was definitely huge for it from them. Found this at Goodwill. This is a single, Still Loving You from Scorpions. Features the original, cut from the album, which was Sting the Tail, I'm sorry. Still Loving You. And Still Loving You, radio version, and then Media Overkill, which is the third track on there. I don't know that song, so I gotta put that on and listen to it. But this was a 1992 release, so you can see the remix there. It is, yeah, oh, made in Holland, okay. Yeah, this is cool. I never saw it before, so I was like, why not pick it up? Another one from Better Than Ezra. This is Before the Robots. This is a 2005 release. So if you see the hype sticker on there, it says the song "A Lifetime" is a smash. I don't remember the song "A Lifetime" at all. I don't know if it had radio play. If it did, I don't remember it, or it wasn't played here. Because I know, through my travels, listening to other radio stations, that there's stuff that I don't hear in my local radio stations. We got 4 more. Next up, Trip. Lit, Tripping the Light Fantastic. This is Lit's debut album before they would release Miserable and their huge hit single, My Own Worst Enemy, which still gets huge play today. I was actually at a kind of like this. I was at like this club. They were doing like throwbacks and stuff like that, and they played My Own Worst Enemy, and the entire crowd were like, I felt so old there. They were like in their 20s there, and the whole crowd just erupted. They all sang along, so it just shows that this band's huge hit single never died. Next up, we have a later run from Hall & Oates. Credit to Daryl Hall and John Oates. This is a 1990 release, Change of Season. This is largely acoustic, this album. None of their huge hit singles on here. Like I said, it's 1990, so it's a little later in their career. They had a lot of big hits in the 80s, obviously. This one was the last one they did in the 80s. This is 1988's Daryl Hall and John Oates again. This is called Ooh Yeah. A band that I have all their early stuff, but I never really got into the later 80s and 90s stuff, so I figured why not. And last but not least, I saved the best one. I had to get it. The Partridge Family. Come on, get happy. The very best of Partridge Family. Come on. My CD collection can't be complete without this. Come on, get happy is obviously on here. I Think I Love You, which I think is a great song. David Cassidy, rest in peace. Great. Then we got a little Danny Bonaducci there. So anyone, if you're wondering, this is not for sale. This is my copy. Found this at a Goodwill store. It's mine now. All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Like this video. And if you're interested, please go to my YouTube page, my newest YouTube page, which is called @Gary's Music Files on Instagram. Thanks again for watching. See you next video.